India, the world's largest democracy, is always almost in election mood, with 28 states and 8 union territories, building a largely of billions eligible voters. Both are constant features of the political landscape. For years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Bharatiya Janata Party, has campaigned the idea of one nation's one elections, a proposal to hold state and federal elections simultaneously after every 5 years. Our former president, Ramnath Kovind, had led a with 9 members committee that the recommendations of holding elections at the same time last year is called the game changers. Reciting economists, saying that our Indian GDPs will boost by 1.5%. Indian democracies operate at multiple levels. Each with its one election circles. There are general elections to choose our parliament members, the state elections in deciding to previous stages. Within rural and urban areas, holding operated voters for local governance. These elections will be cases processed by death, resignations, disqualifications, or representative. In March, a panel led by Ramnath Kovind as a conclusion, I want to say that India, one nation, one elections, will force regional party to think nationally and national party to think regionally. This is very important for a country like Bharat, who has got all of us speak its multiple languages, different cultures, but the spirit of Bharat is united. Niti working papers beautifully stated that these are forces of our regional party to think national and national party to think regionally. It's one of the important outcomes that will come out in one nation.
Next. 8.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Mayapi Arvinasuzo, and I am from Senapati, Bangalore, and my local district is Senapati. It is a privilege to speak to you today on a subject that holds the potential to redefine the democratic process in India, that is, one nation, one election. India, the world's largest democracy, conducts elections for the Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies at different times, often resulting in multiple elections every year. These frequent elections lead to recurring impositions of the model code of conduct, which temporarily stop the policy of implementation and place of governance. One nation, one election proposes synchronizing of elections for the Lok Sabha and all the state assemblies, either on a single day or within a specific time frame. The primary goal is to minimize the financial, administrative, and the political costs associated with the repeated elections and to ensure the uninterrupted governance. To make one nation, one election in a reality, a national consensus is essential. Political parties, legal experts, and all the stakeholders must come together to deliberate and builds a framework that ensures smooth implementation. First, synchronizations of election can also be gradually aligned or to the can also be general aligned to can also be generally aligned the election cycles. In conclusion, one nation, one election is not only just about reducing the cost or simplifying the electoral process, but to ensure the governance and to make sure that the companies are moved forwards without any unnecessary interruption. Thank you.
Nine, 10, 11, 12.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Savita Pune from Snapti District. My mother district is Snapti. Abraham Lincoln once said that the ballot is stronger than the bullet. But what happens when ballots are cast too frequently? They either, instead of strengthening democracy, they will disrupt governance and policy implementation. India is a diverse land with over 143 crore population and 28 states and 8 union territories. But they follow a complex order of electoral system where national level elections and state level elections are held differently. But they can also be conducted together, and that is the concept, and that is where the concept one nation, one election comes in. A system where simultaneous elections are held across the country. We also know that in 2024 there was the Lok Sabha elections, and right after these elections there were elections across the country in several states like Maharashtra, Jharkhand, Jammu and Kashmir, and Haryana. And not only that, but there were also some local elections happening in elections like Panchayat election and municipal election. And as a result, we know that there are always elections happening somewhere in the country. And the Lok Sabha election alone cost thousands of crores of rupees. And not only that, but along with the local and state level elections, the bill becomes enormous. So if one nation, one election bill is implemented, then all these elections will happen at the same time, and it will significantly reduce costs. And the second major advantage of one nation, one election is that it will reduce the burden of schools, administrative system, and security forces. Because when elections are taking place, then the schools, the teachers, the police officers, and government officials, they have to leave their regular duties and even the schools, they are turned into polling station where students have to miss their classes. And even the local government offices, they are all occupied with election related works, and they delay the government offices. They are delaying the essential service of the people. And lastly, the politicians, if one nation, one election is implemented, and the politicians, they will no longer focus on campaigning and focusing on elections, but they will focus on the development of the country, and also they will work efficiently in their offices and also earn their salaries through active participation in administrative system. And all these advantages, along with thousands of crores of savings, makes it a perfect to pass. Thank you.
Next, 13. Once again, good evening to everyone, especially to our guests and respected to all others and to all my boss and mates. I, Rochuwen Sego, representing on this topic, one nations and one elections. I won't be go much detail on this topic, but I'll say two effective that what we are facing in this Manipur. I like to say some things that about what government has said to us. You know what? In what government has promised that in 2047, government has promised that there will our country says that our Indian would be a developed country. They themselves that agreed what they have promised. But how they become one of the developed countries? You know, as we spend a lot of thousands and thousands of crores on this in elections. In elections, we have a lot of space, a lot of money in these elections. How can become a one kind of a developed countries? And also in this one nations, I really disagree with this one nations because as we know that, let's say this Manipur, how can we say that we are nations? How can we say that we are one nation? See, we cannot able to stay together. We cannot able to share. We cannot able to stay together. How can we should become one nation here? I really disagree. Disagree what this government has said to us about this one nations and one elections, and also like you know in this one voting, it's for one person. It's very important in one voting. You know, one person can change the people. Which if we go to the directions, which a true man, a true woman, a true person, if they are themselves, they will choose the right elections. They will appoint the right persons. What I really want to say is that it is not from the governments, it is by us. If you want to start from the pillars of our, if you want to start elections, we have to read, we have to learn what they have to teach us. So we better to change ourselves instead of them. Thank you. There between 14 to 18, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19,
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica, and I'm from Senapati district. Today, I want to share an idea. I want to discuss an idea that has potential to reshape the way our democracy works. One nation, one election. This concept, which proposes holding election for the Lok Sabha and all state assemblies simultaneously, is not just about a convenience. It's about strengthening our democracy and ensuring that India moves forward as one united nation. Let me explain on how the one nation, one election can pave the way to victory. 1. Better governance. Frequent elections. Better governance. Frequent elections brings everything to halt due to the model code of conduct. Right now, leaders spend so much time campaigning that their governance takes a backseat. With one election, governments can focus on their real works like building roads, improving healthcare, and creating jobs without constant interruptions. 2. Cost saving. As we all know, elections in India are very expensive. However, holding them all at once would save crores of rupees, which could be better spent on schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. 3. Higher voter participation. Many Indians, especially in the rural areas, find it hard to vote multiple times a year. However, one election season would make the voting easier and strengthen democracy. Coming to the challenges, of course, this idea is not without its challenges. India is a federal country, and all the states have their own unique issues and identities. Some fear that the national election might overshadow the state-level concerns. Additionally, implementing this would require constitutional amendments, political agreements, and meticulous planning. In conclusion, I would like to state that it's not about politics, it's about progress. It's about building a system that works for everyone and takes India forward. With dialogue, cooperation, and vision, we can make this change a reality. So let's come together and make one nation, one election a step towards a brighter future for India. Jai Hind.
Then 21.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is I'm from Sirapur district, Manipur. One nation, one election. Simultaneous election will be held in the whole state in the Lok Sabha in a gap of 5 years. And this will involve the restructuring of the election circle, and this would mean that voters will cast their vote for the electing members of the Lok Sabha and the State Assembly at the same time at the same day. The idea of one nation, one election emphasize the conduct of election at the central and the state assembly, at the same state assembly together in India. And this initiative of concept reduce the work burden of the central and the state assembly, and it also reduce the wastage of effort, money, and it will also save the time. And the benefits of one nation, one election, I would say, it will reduce time, and it will save time, and it will reduce the massive expenditures of the state.
Number 24.
बार बार चुनाव, बार बार अवरोध, क्या विकास के लिए ये ही सही मार्ग है? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ramon Lanishan. I am from Senapti district, Manipur. Before I begin, I would like to ask you all one question. How often do we hear about elections in India? Every few months, every years. In fact, if we look closely, India is always in election mode. So I'm standing here today to discuss a reform that could change this one nation, one election. As the largest democracy in the world, we take pride in our elections, but are we the most efficient? Frequent election means constant campaigning, massive expenses, and political distractions. Instead of focusing on long-term policies, our political leaders they are more focused on how to win the next election. So why not make all the elections together and let government function uninterrupted for the next 5 years? Let's break it down. Why India should adopt one nation, one election? Number one, it saves crores of rupees for development. In a country where we are still fighting for poverty, why should we spend thousands of crores of rupees on elections every single year? In the 2019 Lok Sabha election, it alone cost 60,000 crores, making it the most expensive election in Indian history. Just imagine if we could even save half of that money and redirect it towards making better schools and better hospitals or infrastructure. India would be a much developed country. Number two, governance will improve. So every election enforces MCC, the Moral Code of Conduct, and due to this, many new policies and development projects are delayed or paused. But a synchronized election cycle would allow leaders to focus more on developing new policies rather than making short-term promises. And number three, it reduces voter fatigue and boosts participation. So due to the ongoing constant election every single year, many participants, many citizens, they grow disengaged and they don't participate in voting. So a single cycle of election would encourage even higher voter turnout and make democracy strong all the way. Of course, there are challenges to this. Some argue that implementing one nation, one election would be difficult. True, but India has faced even bigger challenges before, and India has faced even bigger challenges before. We have introduced GST, we have introduced Aadhaar and digital governance. So this too is undoubtedly very much possible. With the right constitutional amendments and technology, we can make this a reality. So in conclusion, I would like to say that one nation, one election is not just a political reform, but it is a step towards making India a more stable, a more progressive country. It means more governance, less politics, more development, less spending. If we truly aim for a Viksit Bharat by 2047, we must embrace efficiency over outdated election cycle. The question is, are we ready to take this step towards the future? Thank you.
Next we have Lord